All right, History 132, folks. Still working on Unit 7 at this particular point. I want to talk a little bit about we're discussing discrimination. We're talking about civil rights. This is also the birth of the affirmative action movement. What you're going to look at is something, it's reaction to long-term discrimination, long-term policies that keep people in an underprivileged status. And the idea is it's a good idea, but it's poorly administered, it's poorly done. The idea of affirmative action is going to create quotas based on race, based on color, based on gender, that said, hey, you can only have so many people of this color, or you need more people of this color, or you need more people of this sex or this nationality. And if you have 100 people here, well, listen, if you look at the national statistics, 12% of the population is African American. So therefore, if you have 100 people here, well, you're going to have to make 12 of those black. That's not exactly the way it breaks down, but that's the intention. And so there's going to be a discussion of this. There's going to be an argument about this, or about whether it's right, about whether it's wrong, about whether it's a wrong method or the right thing to do. And the thing is you're going to end up with reverse discrimination. So I'll let you go ahead and read more about that. This is also the time of the birth of the Environmental Protection Agency. We've had big business moving since the end of World War II, and they've been moving quite a bit. But the problem that we found out is that big business making big money often doesn't pay attention to the environment. And so we're going to start establishing some regulations to do something about protecting the environment. Another thing that comes up here that you might or might not be familiar with is a group called OPEC. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Companies. In this time, and what we're looking at now is the early 70s, we're going to look at the oil embargo. We're going to say, hey, look, the nations, the Arab nations, which is where this at, in the Middle East, are not happy with us. They're not happy with the Western powers, that we've interfered with their business, with their states, with their countries for too long. And they're going to establish that, listen, most of our oil comes out of this area. And so they're going to start getting together as a group, as OPEC, to decide how much they're going to produce, what the price is going to be, who they're going to sell with, and what they're going to work with. This is important because right now, I think it's kind of interesting. I looked at the price of gas here the other day, and it was $1.49 a gallon. It has not been $1.49 a gallon since, well, I'm pretty old, folks. I can remember graduating high school. Yes, they had cars back then. But when I graduated high school, gas was almost 99 cents a gallon. I swore at 99 cents a gallon I was never going to pay $1 a gallon. Whoops. I did end up paying $1 a gallon, $2 a gallon, and $3 a gallon. This is when that starts, is with the birth of OPEC and birth of what's happening with this point. Let's talk about that Vietnam War real quick. Johnson makes a push. Okay, Nixon is going to make a push. We're going to shift from so many troops to instead Operation Rolling Thunder. Operation Rolling Thunder is going to be opening up the gates of hell to bomb the heck, not only out of parts of Vietnam, but we're going to extend it into Cambodia. We're going to extend it into Laos. What we're going to do, because part of Nixon's doctrine is this: he decides that he's going to negotiate peace. He realizes he can't win. He realizes it's not going to work. He realizes that it's going to cost him perhaps an election, because one of the things that he promises getting elected the first time through is that he'll get us out of the war. Well, to get us out of the war, he has to win. He knows he can't win because of the Pentagon Papers that we talked about. So what he wants to do is he wants to negotiate a peace. His doctrine is simple. It's going to be peace with honor. It's going to be peace without victory. The idea is we're going to bomb the living hell out of these folks. We're going to make them regret they ever had a war with us. And we're going to beat them so badly, not only in northern Vietnam, but the edges around Vietnam, the other countries attached to Vietnam where they're importing supplies from. And we're going to make them regret getting involved. We're going to punish them in such a way that they'll be forced at the Paris Peace Accords to go ahead and sign this document. Doesn't work, folks. what Nixon is going to manage to do, because he's going to use something called shuttle diplomacy. He is going to do some things here via his Secretary of State. Not only is he going to negotiate us a peace, or at least temporarily, out of Vietnam, he's going to negotiate with the Russians and Leonid Brezhnev to have the strategic arms nuclear limitations treaty, strategic arms limitations talks. What that's going to do is put a cap on the amount of missiles, on the types of missiles. So he's going to negotiate more than one piece, but the problem is this: it's only temporary. There's something else going on. While Nixon is working to get reelected, what he's going to do is he's going to create a committee. The committee is called the Committee to Re-elect the President. The acronym for that is CREEP. CREEP. Well, what's going to happen is this. CREEP is going to get together to get the president reelected. And what will happen is, what the folks don't know is they're going to stage some underhanded politics. They want to know what the Democratic Party is up to, so they're going to arrange for a small group of people to break into the Democratic National Headquarters at a small, little-known office complex called Watergate. Problem is, if you've ever watched certain movies along the way, like Forrest Gump, you'll realize that they're going to get caught. They'll get caught because they indeed are not good crooks. At least not this kind of crooks. They're more white-collar crooks. What's going to happen is this: they're going to get caught, they're going to get thrown in jail, and there's going to be a big cover-up. And they're going to be traced back to having roots with the Republican Party, tracing back roots to possibly the president. He's going to deny any of this ever happened. He's going to deny anything to do with this. And what will happen is you're going to have a couple of reporters, Bernstein and Woodward, who are going to do some investigations. And what they're going to do is they're going to get an undercover informant by the name of Deep Throat. Deep Throat is going to tell them, hey, not only did the president know what was going on, that he covered it up, that he is actually behind it, and this is only one in the small tip of the iceberg of shenanigans that are going on. And what's going to happen is it's going to come to the forefront that during the Johnson administration, Johnson wanted to keep track of things for national records and things like that. So they had, between Kennedy and Johnson, a recording device inserted into the office. So that way later on you could put together transcripts of official meetings so nothing could ever be forgotten. Nixon's going to have this on when he is staging his discussions, when he is having his meetings about politics, about Watergate and things like that. And so what's going to happen is they're going to request. This is the birth of the special investigator, folks. This is the birth of congressional action. What's going to happen is they're going to find out that Nixon and company have been up to no good. They're going to investigate it, and they're going to request some documents. There's going to be a special prosecutor, and the special prosecutor will demand some documents. Nixon will say, hey, listen, I'm going to emphasize executive privilege because there are certain things that folks don't need to know. There are certain things that will put national security at risk, and so I don't want people talking about it. He's going to invoke a couple of policies, and what will happen is they will get too close, and he will fire the special prosecutor. When he fires the special prosecutor, he does it in the middle of the night. It's what's called the Midnight Massacre. What this does is blow up the rest of his career. Okay, this Midnight Massacre means he is eventually, they're going to trace it back to him. It's going to put him on the edge of being impeached. It's his people will come to him and say, listen, Richard, not only is Congress going to impeach you, but the Senate's going to convict you. And what will happen is rather than be impeached and convicted and kicked out of office, he is going to go ahead and resign. And as he resigns, what will happen is his Vice President, Gerald Ford, will take over. All right, I'm going to leave you here to finish up the reading, and we'll go ahead and start with the next chapter.